This video is brought to you by Straight Goods News, Canada's alternative online news source. Visit straightgoods.ca.
The latest court ruling, the Ontario Court of Appeal, confirms again that the status quo is unacceptable. This was originally found by the Ontario Court and now has mostly been held up by the Ontario Court of Appeal. So I think it's absolutely clear that this issue must come to Parliament, and we must look at the issue and make sure that these individuals who are in such a vulnerable position, sex workers, that we review the law. Now, part of the court decision is that they've given Parliament a year to rewrite the law on body houses. I'm sorry, they've struck that down, but on the element dealing with living off the avails of prostitution. So I think it's very unfortunate that the government is appealing the decision. That's my understanding, that they're appealing. Have you heard that?
I haven't.
Okay.
They said they're seriously considering their legal options.
Well, I would urge them not to appeal. To me, it's very similar to Insight. Instead of spending, so much money on these court appeals, we actually need to deal with it here in Parliament. We need to recognize that the status quo is not working. It's placed sex workers in great risk, in harm's way, and we need to examine these laws. We did have a committee report back in December 2007, I think it was, and basically the Conservatives refused to act on its recommendations. So this is a very pressing issue because there are women who are very much at risk.
So what exactly should we change? How should we change it to better protect workers? What needs to change within this law?
Well, I think the first thing is that the government must acknowledge that the current laws are not working. In fact, they're harmful. They are placing sex workers at greater risk and vulnerability, particularly the communicating law. And now, as a result of the court decision, where they're being told to rewrite these laws, we must have it come back, and I think we have to examine it. We have to have an honest debate about the safety and rights of sex workers, and look at possibly rewriting laws to make sure that their safety is accommodated and that they're not put at risk.
But how do you go about doing that? What has to change within the laws in your eyes? I understand that you may have to look at it, but you may have also conversations with...
Well, I think that certainly the instruction on living off the avails is very important, to rewrite that so it's clear that it's only where exploitative relationships are that you would have that in effect, because of course no one condones nor supports exploitation, but we do need to recognize that sex workers do have people who work with them, whether they're bodyguards or accountants, and to penalize those individuals under the law doesn't make any sense. I also believe that we should look at the communicating law, because although they struck down the body house law, which presumably means that work can take place inside, which is safer, the fact is that the reality is that there are still people out on the street, and those are the individuals that are actually most at risk. And so the communicating law, which basically makes it illegal to communicate, is still putting a lot of sex workers, and that certainly relates to my own community in Vancouver East, where many of the missing and murdered women were. It was being on the street, the communication, getting into cars, being driven away, that really place the most amount of danger. So I believe that law also should be examined by the federal government from the point of view, or by Parliament rather, from the point of view about what can we better do to support safety and rights of sex workers, not only to help them exit the sex trade when they make that decision, but as long as they're there to make sure that their rights and safety is upheld.
What Mr. Nicholson said today was...
Well, Mr. Mulcair and I were both deputy leaders with Jack Layton, so we're very used to working with each other and being part of a core team. I was very happy to be in the House today, and I thought Thomas did great in question period. There was just a tremendous sense of solidarity and unity in our caucus. I hope you guys saw that. It was very real. It felt really good to all of us, and I'm very happy to be a part of our caucus and working with Mr. Mulcair. And we know that the major issue facing us is this Conservative government. That's what we're confronted with. That's what we're working on. That's what we're united on, and moving forward on that issue, and especially with the budget coming up this week. So it feels very solid, very